Good morning, everyone, and my name is Lori Lytle, and welcome to Mortgage Coaches Training Thursday. So with today's presentation, we're going to review a cost of weight. And if you have not prepared one of these type of presentations for your arsenal, it's a great way of having a presentation already built. So this way you can use your mobile device. I'm using my iPad at the moment, and you'd be able to have a presentation where you can really educate the borrowers on the cost of waiting for different interest rates as well as pricing. So with that, what we're going to show you today is how to create this report. And let me just review with you on what this report is. What I like to do is right now we're having a few more people join the call. So while we're waiting for people joining, for those of you who are new to our Training Thursday and using GoToMeeting, what you would need to do is open up the question area in GoToMeeting and write any questions that you may have. We are going to review the cost of wait and how to prepare this presentation, but where are your struggles in Mortgage Coach? So we can address those while we're creating this presentation. We're going to be creating a product where if they purchase now, this is they would have a 4% interest rate and the purchase price of $250. So what we're going to do is prepare a second product by using a copy feature. So you'll learn how to really go through it quickly in creating a product. In this particular case, the borrower doesn't want to proceed in purchasing. They're waiting for the house price to drop. But in that meantime, you can see how I have the house price less, but also the interest rate rose during that time period. So yes, they got the house drop, but the rates rose. So you can see the different payment there. Then the third product we're going to create is showing, okay, you waited, there is no price drop, but your rate just increased. So this will compare against that first product and show the higher cost of payment due to that interest rate. And so now on the fourth product, what we're going to do is say, okay, everything just didn't work right. Your house price increased and your rate increased. And this is what would the cost of the payment would be. So this is just being able to provide the borrower just an idea of the education with the purchase price as well as the interest rate. So with that, what we're going to do is also dive into, when we're creating this presentation, we're going to discuss or fee templates. So if you haven't created fee templates and this is one of your struggles, put it in the question area so I can work a little bit more in the fee details. So if that's one of your struggles, please put it in the question area. And then we'll also discuss the payment breakdown, how you can see it here with the monthly cost and such. So with that, I see that a few people, if you want to go ahead and let me know where you're from, I see we do have a few people. Jack, I see you're with AmeriFirst. Jason, Finance of America, welcome. We just put a lot of Finance of America folks on last week. Oh, great. We got First Cal Jeff. Great. Hey, Kathy, how you doing? She's from Skyline, so on quite often. Okay, Les Berman, not sure where you're from, Les. If you're on an enterprise account, let me know. Hey, Kathy. Oh, okay, perfect. EB Financial, thank you. Okay, we got Fairway with Steve, that's good, and then Terry with Cherry Creek. So we got a lot of people on the call. Also with the enterprise accounts, a lot of you do have ways of creating fee templates on the branch level. So if you haven't gotten fee templates on the branch level, if you're enterprise account, email us at support and let us work with you and develop those templates, and we can contact your administrator and develop those for you. So with that, let's go ahead and, ooh, I got my iPad moving all over. Let's go ahead and take my iPad off the screen for now, and we'll just focus on creating this presentation. So with this, just a moment, I gotta get my iPad away. Okay, so with this, we're gonna go ahead and dive into the presentation. A couple items I want to point out is payment notes. You'll notice in that lower left-hand corner, there's a good area to put payment notes. So not only you want to put phrases like the payment includes estimated hazard and property taxes, but you do have about 11 lines here. So if you want to be able to put any other kind of communication to your borrower, or like in this particular case, since it's a marketing presentation, you can also add more information about you or maybe how you can contact you as well. So we have payment notes. So if you haven't used that, it's a great way of communicating. And then you also can put on your message. So you'll be able to record a message as well with this presentation. And if you make it as a marketing piece, what's great is you'll be able to have a generic message there that can be used for any client. So with that, last two things I want to point out, especially those who are brand new with the enterprise account. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, I get a lot, we see a lot of pictures that come through support box when we're reviewing the presentations that don't have an image. So make sure you place your image, and also make sure the contact information in the upper right-hand corner is correct. Make sure you have your phone numbers, your MLS numbers, as well as your email address on there. Right-hand side, if you don't have your branch address, or left-hand side, excuse me, the address, you want to make sure you have that in there. And it's quite simple. All this is in your contact information in your Edge account. So let's dive into Edge. If you're going to follow along with me, go ahead and log into your Edge account with me. And before we dive into creating that cost of weight, and we'll create it from scratch, we won't use any copies, want to point out settings. When you go into your settings, you'll see this is where that contact information is. So make sure you have in the license area, make sure you have an identifier in front of that MLS number. That way they'll be able to understand what that number is when it's on the report. If these areas are grayed out and you need any kind of modifications, your administrator on the account will be able to help you with that, or just email us at support@Mortgage Coach and we'll assist you. Second tab is your image tab. This is where you want to browse and upload your image. I have seen quite a few images come through the support, and they're quite large. They're portrait images. So if it comes through, it's a little grainy, just email us, send us that image. We can go ahead and crop it and resize it for you so it'll make it look nice. So go ahead and you can send that to us. So now that we have all our contact information set, what we want to do is create this presentation now. So for those of you who are new, what you'll do is want to create a new client presentation. So with that, we're going to go ahead and click New. And just one moment, everyone. I need to plug in my iPad so we can use that later. So just one moment. Okay, got that going. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and click on New Client. And as a reminder, remember you have that Help button. The Help button will take you to our support center. And that will give you to our tutorials. And Les, my name is Lori Lytle. I work with Mortgage Coach. We do the training Thursdays, but I also have a compliance background, as well as I used to work for a document service. So I understand products. You guys are the sellers, though. So let's go ahead and dive into this. So again, Help button, Settings, and now let's dive into creating a new client. So with that, what we're going to do is go ahead, and I'm going to make this a marketing report. So you can see how easy at the top you have individual or marketing. Individual will allow you to put the names for the borrower and co-borrower. Marketing gives you a report headline. A lot of times if you're creating marketing reports, a great way to keep your marketing report at the top of your list is by using a character. We do sort all the files alphabetically, so if you put a character in front of it, this way it will put it at the top of the list. So characters are always the first thing to list. So I'm just going to put cost of weight, and if you create other marketing presentations, you could just go back in there, update the title with that asterisk, and then that will be at the very top of your list of when you go and do copies, because it's easy to take a presentation like this, copy it, customize it for your borrower, and send it off. So what I want to do is in my friendly name field, this is a great way to just be able to identify what that presentation is for. If you're working on open house presentations, always put the street address in the friendly name field, because it's a quick way of doing a copy of that realtor's product, but this way you know which property it is, because you can make many presentations for a specific realtor. So in this particular case, I'm just putting in, so I know what it is my Thursday's training. And I'm going to go ahead and place in today's date. If you want to be able to send your partner an email alert, you could go ahead and put their email address, or if you're working with, have an assistant who's also assisting you with those alerts, go ahead and place their email address here, and they'll receive those payment alerts as well. Moving on, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm purchasing a new home. When you mark purchase a new home, what this does is modify the system and you're not getting the refinance information. So this excludes the current mortgage. If you didn't mark that, you would get that current mortgage refinance information. Always just, if you're doing a purchase, just come back here and mark it as a purchase. So let's go ahead and put in the property value. So I am going to go through here and show you the minimal keystrokes to create the presentation. I'm going to mention a couple other items. If you want to dive into those more, please let me know and we could dive into it and give you a little bit more background on those fields. So you'll notice when you go through fields, you'll have very few certain fields in red. And with those, we are telling you those are the items we need to fill in for a presentation. So you'll see that I left this as a 0. So you can see if I advance my screen, you'll notice an exclamation mark at the base there in my tab. That is telling me I have a field in red that's left empty. Why don't you go check it out, make sure you fill it in. So that's what I'm doing, is putting in my $250,000. This will go ahead and trigger for my loan to value. It's my purchase price. And again, it will figure out your cutoff for MI. Moving on to the affordability. This is a great way of, when you start really learning Edge, to dive into this screen further. You'll be able to get their DTI ratios by filling in their gross income and their monthly debt. And this doesn't print anywhere on the presentation. So if you just want to be able to see that DTI, just to see where they're at, fill this information in and I'll show you on the products where you can find that data. Savings balance, a great way if you do have a savings balance to key it in, because this will also help with the cash to close. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and put in 25,000, and it's a savings account, so I'm just putting a nominal rate there. And just to show you, let's go ahead and fill in these fields just to give you an idea of what it is. Say they have 500 in mortgage debt. So we have this filled out, so we'll look at our products, the DTI, savings. When we get to our analysis screen, you'll be able to see in the reinvestment strategy how much money they need for cash to close, and did the savings amount cover it. So this will be able to assist you in knowing if they have enough cash to close. And if you want to show a tax benefit, you could go ahead and place a tax bracket. I'm going to leave it off the presentation for now. If you want to see the tax bracket and how it reflects on the report, put it in the question area and I'll come back and add that after we're done. Just to let you know, if you're not sure of the tax bracket, we do have a fine tax bracket. It takes you to a separate web page, really quick to find out an estimate of the borrower's tax, what tax bracket they're in. So you just pick this year, and if they're single, married, filing jointly. So with that, let's go ahead and move on. Also, if you do MCC credits, great way of showing one product with, one product without MCC credit, and be able to show that to your borrower. Moving on, affordability, just a data collection screen, so I'm just going to go ahead and pass on that one. So this is where we're going to start building our products. You can see we're starting from scratch, and when let's flip to our products. So we're going to create our buy now first. And when we create that buy now first, we're going to use all the fee templates and the monthly costs, and then we're going to copy it and just modify the next 3 products. This way it would be really easy for you to create a presentation, but it's also showing you how, once you have one product in there, how easy it is to create multiple products through the copy feature. So let's go ahead and place this label as buy now. Remember, when you do your labels, your product titles, it needs to be 12 characters or less. Reason for it is when you start getting to 4 products, exceed that 12 characters. If you go to print the copy, it might run off the screen. The web version, the mobile version, everything will take into account. But if you ever print a hard copy, that's where you have your limit of 12 characters. And we always encourage not to print the hard copy. Always send the link, because this way, if you make a change, your link is always updated and the print copy would not be. So let's go ahead and put in that purchase price of $250,000. And for those of you who have product templates, you could go ahead and find a product template for your conventional fixed rate product. I'll also show you at the very end, once we build this one, how you could create a product template as well. So let's go ahead and put in 20% down. So down payment, I'm opening up that percentage field, putting in 20%. You'll see it automatically calculates the down payment as well as their base loan amount. And let's go ahead and put an interest rate of 4% and 360. So we're done with our first screen here. And when we advance the screen, take a note of the upper right-hand corner. Because as we advance the screens, your graphs are going to start being built. So this graph is showing us the P&I payment because we haven't added any monthly costs yet. So this is your straight P&I payment. Below that, you'll see that debt to income ratio, the DTI. This is because we've filled in that information in our affordability section. LTV, we have it at 80%, again, because we put in that sales price in our assumptions area. So now let's discuss fees. So when you come through fees, the first thing I always do, because it's not in the closing costs, is place in your prepaid interest days. A great quote, if you're not quite sure, is just quoting 15 days. If you hover your mouse, you can see that dollar amount as well. So now let's go ahead, and we have the fields here, and we're going to go into our closing cost details. Really quick before we go here, if you want to just do a quick lump sum, you could do that as well. So say our APR fees are close to $1,500, our non-APR fees are $1,750, and I have some prepaid escrows here for $1,800. So if you wanted to do an estimate, you can see how I bulk summed it. That's one way of doing costs. Another way is itemizing. This way you show transparency. So either way will work. So whichever way you would like to, you can do a lump sum. And also we have a points field here. So if you have points, you could place in the points here. You can see you hover your mouse and you can see the dollar amount. But you can also put that rebate amount here too. So if you had a negative 0.25 and the rebate, it will show that negative amount as well. I'm going to leave this here for now, the points, just to be able to show you when we go into the closing cost details, how you can see that point dollar amount as well as the prepaid interest. So now with it, you have one way of doing fees, lump summing. Now let's take a look at closing cost details. So with the closing cost details, you can build fee templates on your own, or you can also work with your organization and build branch fee templates. So the first thing you would need to do if you want to see if you have fee templates, you would go to your drop down here and see if there's any product templates for you to choose. If there's not, don't worry about it because it's quite simple to build a fee template. Great way to start is to pull a fee worksheet from your system, and usually I always suggest doing a conventional FHA and VA, and with that you'll start the basis of your fee templates. You could start when you're creating templates, when you're creating a file itself, but just point out we do have settings here up here, and you could create fee templates without being in a file. So we'll show you that after we create the presentation, how you can modify these fee templates. So going back into the closing cost details, let's go ahead, and I'm just going to pull a conventional fee template. You can see how once you've built these templates, how they'll all go ahead and just display for you. You can see I have a lot of dollar amounts here, but you'll notice I have some open areas for lender's title and owner's title. What I find out is, depending on what state, these tend to be variable. I noticed the Pacific Northwest, you could go ahead and place in a dollar amount, and that works. So I've been building fee templates up there, but once I go into, I notice more on the East Coast, things like that. You can do two things. So you can either put in a dollar amount for your template, but we also have percentage fields as well as a dollar amount. So say you know that it's always like 0.35% is your title. You could place that in your template, and you can see how we automatically calculate that amount for you once you put the loan amount in. You also have a padding. So sometimes you could put plus $100. So we'll take the percentage plus the dollar amount and total it for the fee. So that's one way you'll be able to build out your templates a little bit more and customize it for yourself. And even if you have a fee template built by your corporate, your organization, and some of the fees are just slightly different than your branch, modify the fees. Say you only do $425 for your appraisal. You definitely know I could put in 0.35 for title and 0.45 for seller's owner's title. Just giving you numbers. And you can see how it automatically will display. So once you have developed a fee template that your organization has provided, you've modified it for yourself, for your particular branch, you're able to save a new template. So this way, instead of modifying your organization's fee template every time, you can customize it for yourself by just pressing Save as Template. So in this particular case, I'll just go ahead and put in today's date so you can see my fees. If you originate in multiple states, you could go ahead and identify the state here. Oh, and Jason, I saw that lost sound. Sorry about that. I'm glad it's back. So thanks for letting me know. So with the fees, again, if you're originating in multiple states, you could identify that as well. And it's really quick too, because once you have one fee template built, you can always pull that fee template, modify it again, and then save it as a template. And that's why it's so quick and easy to develop the fee templates as you go. So with that, I'm applying this to my loan. I've updated my lender's and owner's title. And you see now that my lump sum fees are gone, and these fields are now grayed out. And the reason for this gray out is because of the closing cost details. We took all these fees and totaled all the APR fees or non-APR fees together and placed them on the outer area. Want to point out the blue area right below the fees. This is where you can see your points, your prepaid interest dollar amount. If you had an upfront MIP, it would display here. Also want to point out right below that, you'll see it will lump all the borrower totals, how much the lender's contributing, as well as the seller. So you have all that breakdown right here within your fee template. So now let's go to our monthly costs. And what's great with once we're done with creating this, you can actually create a product template that will be used, and you can always have your monthly costs and your fees there. So again, and if you're using Optimal Blue or any type of API, if you create a product template with your monthly costs and with your fees, I mean, basically it's a two-step process then. You'll carry your file over from Optimal Blue, update the title of the product, apply a fee temp or your product template, which has your fees and your monthly costs, and you're done and ready to go. So let's just open up the area for insurance. I'm quoting 0.35 for hazard and 1.25 for taxes. Just find out what your estimate is in your area and go ahead and default that in. I have 20% down, so I don't have MI. And you want to put your reserve number of months. So I'm going to quote 2 months of hazard reserve, 4 for taxes, and I'm collecting a 12-month premium. So before I go on, what I want to do is save it as a template. So I'm just going to go ahead and again put in today's date as my product template. And what I'm going to do is when we go into our settings and showing you how you can update it, show you how that product template's there and how easy it would be apply. Again, if you're developing any type of or working with an API, again, having those monthly costs with a click, it's nice to have, and it's really easy to update your product. So now let's go ahead, and now that we've gone through each of those screens, we're going to go rather quickly now to develop the other products. So I'm going to go ahead and add another product, and let's go ahead and put in a new title. So I'm going to mark this as wait for drop. And in this particular case, instead of building our product again, we're going to use the copy from button. In the copy from button, you can see that you can copy from any product that's already been built. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the Buy Now product and carry it over. So remember with this product, let's go back to our presentation. So with our wait for drop, what is happening here is we're reducing the loan amount and we're increasing the interest rate. So let's go ahead and modify our Buy Now that we just copied, and we'll reduce that purchase price, and we're going to go ahead and reduce the interest rate. So let's go ahead and put it at 240, update that, and we'll update our interest rate to 4.5. That was the only difference for our wait to drop. So it will show for the price drop, but interest rates increase during that wait. So as we advance the screen, you could see by using that copy feature, all our fees carried over. So unless the fees for some reason change, you would need to modify them. Otherwise, we advance our screen and you'll see all our monthly costs and reserves also copied. So you can see how really quick it was to develop that second product, wait for drop. So now what we want to do is create our third product. So I'm clicking on add another product. And this one is there's no drop. So with that, we definitely want to copy from the Buy Now because it's the exact same loan amount. Let's go check out our presentation. So now we're on the no drop. You can see how our purchase price is $250, the same as the first product, but our interest rate is going to be different. So our interest rate's a little higher. So let's make that modification and just increase our interest rate. 4.5, and we're keeping the loan amount the same. So that was all the change I had to do was in the interest rate, advance my screen, my monthly cost carried over, or closing costs, and then our monthly costs. So you can see how using that copy feature, it really makes you go quickly through creating a presentation. So now our fourth product, let's go ahead and label this one as price and rate increase. So we're increasing the loan amount. Let's go ahead and go back to our presentation. So now we're developing our fourth product. So you can see how we have a 10% or 10,000 increase in that loan amount now. And we also have that 4.5% increase in rate. So let's use the copy from feature. I'm copying from Buy Now. In a sense, I could have gone ahead and done the wait for drop because that had the 4.5%. Either one you choose. I'm just going to go ahead and update the 4.5% interest rate, and let's increase the purchase price to $260. So now that we have the increase of purchase price and increase of the rate, advance our screen, all our monthly costs carried or closing costs carry over as well as our monthly costs. So now what we're going to do is go through the rest of the presentation, talk about the analysis screen, contact, and let's go into the presentation itself. So now as I advance my screen, we're coming to the analysis screen. And I'm curious, has anyone on the call, have you used the reinvestment matrix? If you can let me know, go ahead and open up that question area and let me know. Oh, perfect, Les, you've used that. It's a great little tool. It's very handy. And then with the reinvestment matrix, it's right here. Oh, okay, cool. You did too, Steve. It's a great way of showing, especially on different products, how you can apply principal, money toward principal to reduce their freedom point, to reduce the amount of time that they need to pay on the mortgage. So just as an example, if they put in $100 a month applying to principal, if they do that every year, they've reduced their loan from 30 years to 24, almost a little less than 25 years. So you can see just that little bit of money, how they'd be able to pay down that loan faster. You can also, if they're curious on how, wow, that worked out well. By putting a dollar amount, say they want to be able to have that security of a 30-year loan, but want to pay it off as a 15-year. So if they applied an additional $500 amount toward principal, they'll have that loan paid off in 15 years. So that's what's great with the reinvestment strategy. Also want to point out, if you double click, you can also reinvest mortgage insurance after it's dropped if you have MI. And if you have, say, a bridge loan and a year later, they'll have money to apply toward principal, say 100,000. You'd be able to show that here. So with that, a lot you could do with this reinvestment strategy screen. So if you haven't used it, definitely dive into it. Okay, yeah, Les is asking where the amortization tables are. Perfect, Les, it's in the next screen, so we're right on the same flow, so I'll show you that as well. So pointing out the reinduction payment, just to let you know, you can also apply it to savings as well as an investment account. And we'll be able to undo it. Just one moment. I have a question from Steve. He says, I have some questions about paying off a second or installment debts and trying to include them in the payoff. Yeah, definitely. Let's touch base with that, Steve, at the end. We have a workaround for debts, and I'll show you how you can put in a second lien and also some payoff. I'm not sure if that's like an installment debt, but we'll play with that at the end of the call, definitely. Okay, so with that, we showed you the reinvestment strategy. Also want to point out, we're looking at total interest and MI paid in our long-term area. You do have the option to show net worth, which is really good in conjunction with that reinvestment strategy. And then you also have an option of showing total principal paid. So I'm going to keep it on total interest. When we come to the presentation, I'm going to come back and talk about the short term as well as the long term and be able to talk about borrower's goals. So that's using Mortgage Coach Live, so I'll be coming back to these three fields shortly. Moving on, contact information. You can fill out this information. If you're doing a marketing piece, you can also add some information here, and it could be a tagline at the top. Moving on, we're done. So, oh, no, we're not. Les, this is the amortization schedule area. So a lot of times when you email us at support, we're going to tell you, hover your mouse over presentation and choose select report. That brings you to this screen here, and there's a lot you could do with it. Before we go into the amortization schedule, I want to point at the bottom. You have all your products listed. So if you don't want to see a product, if you unmark it, only the three that are marked will show. So this is a way you can have products in the background in the wings already created and show them when they come, when you do Edge Live. So we'll play with that a little bit when we go into Edge Live as well. Payment notes, when I talked to you about the presentation about you want to put something about estimated hazard and property taxes included in your payment. But this is where you can add additional notes for your borrower. So additional notes for, so you can see where this shows up on the presentation. Moving on, let's go ahead and market amortization schedule and advance the screen. So you have an option to go ahead and choose any of your products for receiving an amortization schedule. And then when you advance the screen, so I chose Buy Now first, you'll see a preview of the amortization schedule. With that, you'll be able to also export it in a CSV file that can easily be turned into an Excel file. So if you had MI, you could see the MI column would go ahead and show. And if you had investment for payment, you would be able to have that information. But you can see how you have your rate, your payment, how much is going toward principal, interest, the total payment, total principal, total interest. So there's a lot of data on here that's totaled for you. So that's how you could get the amortization schedule as well as exporting it as well. So now I'm going to go back, put it back at the total cost analysis so I can work on my presentation and move on. And then Les, if you have any questions on the amort, let me know, but it's pretty straightforward. So with that, advancing the screens, now it's just going through, just looking quickly at the presentations. You can advance through 2 more screens or just hover your mouse over presentation, choose the preview, jump out. That takes you to the very end of the screen as well. So with that, you do have an option to print and save as PDF, but that could be done at any time in the presentation. Always keep the email link You want it marked, notify me when the report is viewed. This is giving you the email alert. And then I'm going to go ahead and place in a quote date. So that way you know when those rates were good. So if I do a preview of our presentation, we have just created the duplicate of what we had just presented. So here's your additional notes for the borrower. So you can see how you add those additional payment notes where they're going to display and have that information listed here. So now what I want to do is show you how to work with Edge Live a little bit. With that, if you click on Generate Link, that's one way to get the link that you can send to your borrower. You would just copy and send that link in an email. But want to point out also that if you look at the bottom right-hand corner, how I said you can always send the link, it's the reason you have your save and your print button within the presentation. So if you send the link, the borrower can always print off the presentation for themselves at home, and they could save it as a PDF if they choose to. So that's why it's always great to have the link, and you can see how it has all that information of your products. And you could save it, they could save it as well. But you also have a share button, and you have a share button on the mobile device as well. But with the share button and on the desktop, you have the email, and it will just go ahead and open up an email for you, and it includes that link. So you could go ahead and modify your email, customize it for the borrower, but you have all that information right there and the link ready to go in your email. So let's take that link. So if the borrower clicked on the link, this is what they would do, and this is their experience. So they would click on the link on their mobile device or on their desktop. First thing they would have to do is click through the disclosure language. Now let's put these two presentations side by side so you can really see the difference between the loan officer's copy of a total cost analysis and the borrower's copy. So I'm going to go ahead and split screens here really easily. Oh, come on. There we go. And that way you can see how it's easy to drive the presentation for the borrower. So with that, almost there. Okay, so we have two presentations side by side. And let's go ahead and do preview. Let's get my preview. Okay. It's a little shrunk on the right-hand side. Okay, so the difference between the two, the right-hand side is the borrower's copy. The left-hand side is the loan officer's copy. And with that, really quick, Les has a question. It's probably because of the share button. There is a Facebook and a Twitter button that will quickly and easily post that link. If you ever post a link to Facebook and Twitter, if you have these buttons, some compliance people, if you're on an enterprise account, might have removed these two buttons. But if you do post anything, remember privacy. Don't put borrowers' names up there, property addresses. Make it generic. So marketing presentations, definitely less people do that. You might want to check with your social media, your marketing department to find out what you can and can't do. But a lot of people do a generic one, post it on Facebook, provide that video and information about yourself as well as what you could provide the borrower. So yeah, many people do that, Les. And also, if you haven't joined our Facebook page, Mortgage Coaches page, they have a lot of information and people share of what they do on that. So that might be something too, Les, that you want to hook up with. So now back to our presentation. So you can see on the right-hand side at the very base, there's no Clear All button. Left-hand side, there's a Clear All button. What that does is if I highlighted, say, the Buy Now, you notice my borrower's copy highlighted as well. So this is the interaction that you can have with your borrower live on the phone. So with that, you notice I've highlighted that Clear All button on the loan officer's copy clears out the highlights at once. Not only is it clearing it on your presentation, it's clearing it on the borrower's presentation. And this is how you can derive the presentation for the borrower and really dive into the details. So as you're talking about the Buy Now product, you this is the rate, this is the loan amount currently, and the rate. If you want to wait, a lot of people wanted to, thinking that the pricing's dropping. This is how you could show it. Purchase price decrease, interest rate increase. You can see how it's highlighting on the borrower's copy. Let's go into the more info, and you want to talk about the more info with the borrower. You could click on the more info, and again, you can see how it's driving the presentation for the borrower. You could discuss the monthly costs, and you see how it's highlighted for them. Not only that, you can go into your closing costs and really provide clarity, go into the fee details, and really discuss that if that's one of the concerns and want to review that with you. So it's really easy for you to go through it. You can also, if you have a contribution, you'll be able to show them where that contribution will be and point that out. So it's a great interactive way. If you're currently using, a fee sheet or Excels or anything like that, you don't have that interaction as you do here. And just as I was talking about removing a product, say we just want to remove a product, and I'm going to remove this price and rate increase. So as I'm talking to the borrower, I can go into my file, hover my mouse over presentation, go to select report, remove a product. They don't want to see that one anymore. Advance the screen, and you can see how both presentations, not only yours, but the borrower will now drop that particular product from the presentation. So now we only have three products being shown. So you can see how Mortgage Coaches Live really is dynamic. It's a link that you could be able to provide the borrower and then really drive the presentation with them. Make any updates. You can update the loan amount. You can update, add new products, remove products like I did, and it's all live and interactive with the borrower. So if you have any questions on using Edge Live, go ahead and put it in the box. Okay, let's see. Oh, great, Steve. So you use Edge Live on every presentation? That's wonderful. I'm curious. A lot of times what I find out is it's the learning curve, and it's learning to present differently to the borrower. But the best way, you see how I split my screens. Another way of learning how to use Edge Live is if you have two screens or even your mobile device, you could go ahead and keep up the loan officers, your preview, drive the presentation, and you could just easily see how you're driving it on the other screen as well as on the mobile device, and really learn it and use it for their borrowers. But it is a great tool, and that's exactly what I like about Mortgage Coaches, being able to have that live interaction. So now with that, let's go back to our presentation. Let's talk about the goals, talk about how we could change items here, and then we'll go ahead and answer your questions on the second lien. So with that, you'll see how we just default 60 months and 15 years. So when you're talking to the borrower, and you could do that during the Edge Live, ask them their goals. How long are they staying in the house? When they plan to move? And you can customize this area for them. So what I'm going to do is go back to Edge. I'm going to my analysis screen, and they're mentioning that they might be moving in 3 years. So let's give them 36-month look. And they definitely know they're going to be out of there in 10. Their kids are grown. They want to move in 10 years. And I forget, term is in years and short term is in months. And the reason for that is if you're doing a refinance, you can take that number of months, bring it down, and find out where the break-even point is here. So if you're working with refinances, that's why we have months. So moving on, let's go ahead and take a look at our presentation. So now that I modified these two fields, to trigger it to the change to your report, you always have to move left or right or just to a different screen, and that makes the save. So if we take a look at our presentation, you'll see that the 60-month and the 15 years will be updating to reflect 36 and 10. So with that, there it goes right there. So with that, what does this represent? So these are the savings of the unrecoverable costs. So when you go into the more info button, what it is the unrecoverable costs, your interest, and mortgage insurance. So this would be able to show you the power of the interest rate. Closing costs we then add because those are unrecoverable costs as well. And that's the total cost of the loan over 36 months. So that's what we do our comparison, find out what the highest cost is, which is the no drop, or actually the price and rate increase, and we compare everything against that. So you can see there's no graph for the price and rate increase, and then you could see in 36 months how much they save over that price and rate increase. So it's a great educational piece by being able to show them exactly their savings and telling them for buying now, potential of what else can happen. So with that, 10-year info, just want to go into the more info real quick. A lot of details. This is the home value. If you use that property appreciation rate, which I have 3%, this is where you'll see that adjustment with your home value. We also provide the loan balance. So this is the loan balance of after 10 years. So they'd be able to see that as well. So a lot of good details in that long-term area that you'd be able to provide the borrower. Okay, so next, any questions on this cost to wait, short-term, long-term, or Edge Live? Because the next step, I'm going to go into a second lien and discuss that for Steve. So with that, if anyone has any kind of questions, go ahead and put it in the question area, and I'll address it. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and let's look at second liens. Okay, Les, actually, Les is questioning, asking for scripting. And then also if scripting, if you look, what I had done is I clicked the help button in Mortgage Coach, and it takes you to our support center. You'll notice this section here in the middle talks about scripting and playlists. So this is a way you can go ahead and open up different scripts. They'll just do PDF and downloads, and this will be able to also help you on different types of phrasing. It also has a checklist, core questions to ask, additional questions, and then also a review on questioning what you provide the borrower. So it's easy to find this information. Just go to the help button and just go into scripting. Also, if you want to see a presentation that was done live, we have, if you go to your mobile device and you just type the word selfie, that's a presentation that someone's done for an open house flyer, and it's a great, I'll show you in a little bit on that one. It's a great example of what you could do with your mobile device. So let's go ahead. I want to go ahead and see if I have a Debt Consol already developed. So what I'm going to do is go into my View All button. It has a search engine. Okay, let's see if I have a cash out. There we go. Let's see. It's in 2014. Let me do something. Let's do this one. Ooh, and I got arms on there. Okay, we're going for it. Oh, okay, so let's take a look at this training here. Let's see what I have. So with that, and it's a purchase. It's taking. Okay. Just one moment. Debt Consol. I'm going to use that one, and it does. I'll cover. I'll cover the second lien as well, Steve. Just one moment. My computer seems to struggle right now. Let's see. Come on. So what with the payoff second? Okay, let's just do Debt Consol. That one's more current. So let's see what I have done on this one, and we'll also talk about second liens as well. So they want to pay off debt on this one. They showed the original appraisal as well as the property purchase price. And the reason for the original appraisal, if you have MI, MI goes off the original appraisal amount. So if you want something a little bit more accurate, if you have that amount, put it in. You would fill out the current mortgage information here. And if you're doing debt consol, this is how we do it. Say it is a workaround. You can see how it has monthly debt, and they're paying $500 for that monthly debt. So we're doing this so that way the monthly amount of the payment is including that debt. So it isn't including the interest or anything, but at least includes the monthly amount of what they were paying. And then when you create the product, as we'll see, the monthly debt will be removed. But say you have a second lien and you want to, let's see. Okay, if you had a second lien instead, so what you could do is mark it yes here as a second lien. Oh, good. Yeah, it does work rather nicely with your debt payoff, and then you just remove that really quickly. But if you're doing a second lien, you would advance your screen and fill out the information for a second lien. And depending on what that second lien is, if it's a HELOC or a straight fix or an ARM, we do have video tutorials, especially for the HELOC, how to be able to place that in here. But you would place that information in for a second lien. You can see it's just base information. And then you just continue on. It doesn't have much of anything else because it wouldn't have monthly costs or anything. You would just put that in there. And then when you go to your products, we'll just take a look of how I did the debt payoff, and then I'll talk about the second lien. So with the debt payoff, what they did is they bumped the base loan amount up because they're also, okay, we're doing debt payoff and then no cash out, straight refinance. So they increased the loan amount, they charge their fees, and then if you also notice, most likely probably you can add any fee to the loan amount. So if you have that, you could go ahead and add fees. Come on. I'm a little lagging. You can see how they're high amounts. So on a debt consol, you can make custom fees, and you can actually show the description and then the dollar amount for payoff. So that way it'll be able to show what's being paid off for their debts, and then advance to the next screen, and you remove that monthly debt to zero. So that way you could show the liens or any kind of debt being paid off and then remove that monthly debt. So with that, okay, let me see real quick how I could do your second lien real fast. Let me just put in some data for a second lien, and then we'll just take this off. Let me find out when the loan was taken. 6/1/14. We'll just say that they got a little loan when they say it was an interest only. So I have a 10-year interest only, a 300 term, and my rate's 5.25. There's my payment. So after 10 years from the 14th, 2014, it will then adjust to full P&I. So that's just a quick second arm. Okay, so you'll see how I have my second lien built here. Okay, when you do interest only and you're setting up products, and really this is for all products, if you enter it this way and then put your IO term in, it doesn't really work that way. What you need to do, if you notice what I had done, is when I came in through this area, let me just delete it and I'll show you what's going on. So say if I put in 5.25, 360, you notice my payment has calculated. And I put in 125. Oh, they fixed it. There's the bug. So yeah, so if you do it, put your interest only term here. Always put your term of the loan, the full term. So if it's a 300-month loan, 10 years interest only, put the 300 here. Don't reduce it down that 10 years. Always put the full term here, and then put your IO period, or if you have a bloom period, put it here. But always put the full term. And that's usually in the questions coming through the support, they'll reduce this down to, say, 180 because they have 120 here, 180. Always put the full term. Okay, so now with that, let's just go ahead and build a second, another product, and we're going to remove that information. So, and see if this works for you. I'm going to add another product. We're going to use my copy from, and I'm going to copy from the current mortgage. You notice that currently it's marked current mortgage, so I want to go and mark it as a refinance. But before I do it, let me show you a couple things. If you leave it marked as a current mortgage, this is what you're going to find. So if I advance the screen, you'll notice I have no closing cost details because right now the trigger is a current mortgage, and the current mortgage will have no fees. So that's how you know if you don't see a closing cost detail, you know you have to come back over here and mark it as a refinance. Otherwise, you're resubordinating that first mortgage. So advancing through, it provided me all my MI that carried over, and you'll notice now does it include a second lien. So with that, let me just look a couple items here. You'll see how the remaining balance is 310 plus 25. And there's the remaining balance here. So let's go ahead, just want to show you the second lien real quick. And it's showing. And okay. So if you're not going to, and I believe, Steve, what you're not going to do is you're not going to resubordinate the second. And you want it all in the first. So what you would actually end up doing is remaining balance, you would increase that by 25%. Right. So with that, what you would end up doing is if you mark it as a refinance, you notice how all of a sudden it did increase, or it did total both the second lien amount and the first lien amount here. So if I was not going to, if I was going to resubordinate the second, I would have to reduce this down to be, let's see, the current mortgage amount, so 310. So that's what, as soon as you mark it as a refinance, it will combine both of those totals. And that was right here. So as soon as I did my copy from current mortgage, I then marked refinance and it made that total. So if I didn't, if I was going to subordinate, so if I was going to resubordinate the second, I would reduce that by the second lien. So now what I need to do is I could advance the screen. I'm going to my monthly costs. And I'm going to say no. So that removes my second lien now. So now I only have one lien on this presentation. And if you want to get fancy, you can always go in here in the closing cost detail, create a custom fee, and then talk about the payoff of the lien, just like you did with payoffs for the credit cards. And then have that listed for the second lien amount. Just a second. Yeah, actually, Les, with the HELOCs, we are going to be, for equity lines, we are going to be diving into that a little bit more. HELOCs are just crazy. But I have a lot of background in that, and I know the calc. So we are going to try to work out where we do have a HELOC button to work those different kind of payment breakdowns. Yes, always on the current mortgage, always have the second lien showing, because let's go ahead and look at the presentation and see how it looks. Because with that, what you'll do is you'll show that you're paying that off. And some people will show two products, one keeping it resubordinating the second, and one with it being paid off, and they could really show the difference. So with that, you can see I have the current mortgage here listed. You can see I have the first and the second lien freedom point. So you can see I have both. And now in our third product is the one we were working with. If you click on payment stream, you'll see that we only have first lien. The second lien I've removed. Yes, Jeff, I'll run through live one more time. So you can see that the second lien has been removed. And another really quick way of looking for second lien info is click on the monthly payment savings for more info. With that, it would be able to provide the second lien information right below it. So you can see on that product 3, the second lien is no longer there. So Steve, I hope that helped you. Oh, perfect. Great, I'm glad. So I'm glad that worked, Steve. And if you need any more help in that, and that's what QA is for. If you have any kind of questions like that and want to really dive into a little bit more, please ask those questions. And Jeff wants to run through Edge Live real quick again. Not a problem. So with that, let's use my products that I already created. Whoa, maybe not. It's a little stretched out. So what I'm going to do to make that real quick, I have the Clear All button, which is if I highlight, and all I'm doing to highlight, I left click on the title or left click on a cell. And if I press Clear All, it clears out my highlights. That's how I know it's my, as a loan officer's copy. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy the link, place it in a tab, and then we'll do it split side by side. So with that, the borrower would click I understand, and they'll see their presentation. So I'm going to just go ahead, and because I have my screen, I have it like at 125 resolution. That's why it's getting all scrunched over here. But I think it's better for you guys to be able to see the numbers. So, okay, we're side by side. And you know, Jeff, a great way of learning how to use this Edge Live is if you have 2 screens. Put one on the other screen and presentation, and keep one on the borrower side and one on your side. And for some reason, there it is. It's my Clear All button. Okay, so with that, you can see Clear All, no Clear All. Borrower's copy, I can't highlight. I can't do anything on that copy. Other side, I can make highlights, and you can see how I highlighted the title. It highlighted the borrower's copy. I highlight fields. It will highlight for the borrower. So when you're talking with them, you could discuss the difference in your products, highlight it. You could dive into the more info button. And this is all also driving the mobile presentation as well. So it's not just the desktop you're driving their mobile presentation. So you can see how I just opened up the payment breakdown and the more info details. We could go over closing costs with them, click on the fee detail button. But you can see always when you're driving, you just need to be on the loan officer's copy, which is the Clear All button. And in the mobile device, you also, let me see if I can bring that back up. In the mobile device, you also have a way of doing Edge Live as well. So let me go ahead and bring up my mobile, and let's show you that. Whoa. And it is running a little over. I usually our trainings are done by now, but just want to show you really quick on the mobile on how to drive Edge Live as well. Great questions on today's call. Just remember, if you're on the mobile device, you'll have that silhouette in the upper right hand corner. If you click on that, you want to go ahead and log in, sign in, and I'm going into my clients. I'm in a different account by now, but you would just go ahead and click on one of your products. If I click on total cost analysis, and you can see live reporting. So if you click on live reporting, this would do the same thing as your presentation, and you'll be able to drive it. So you can see how you'll be able to do that not only on your desktop, but you could drive it with your mobile device as well. So with that, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and close out today's call. Thank you for all the questions you had. If you have any further questions or want us to review a presentation, email us at support@mortgagecoach.com, and we'll be able to assist you. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.